me, I love history. I mean, I love history. I grew up loving history. I've always wanted to go back and, meet people in history and all the wonderful things they've done. And so that's kind of how I was raised. And so these time shows were interesting to me until this man made this one statement that I never thought about, and it really shook me. His eyes got big, and he said, "There is no place in American history that's good for me." And so after class, not disrespectfully, but after class, she spoke with the teacher, and the teacher told her this. The teacher said slavery was wrong, but it really wasn't that bad.
Okay, so let me give you some hot button issues right now related to race and just let you respond to them. Colin Kaepernick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. And then we say, with liberty and justice for all. And the reality is that with African Americans in this nation, there has never been liberty and justice for all.
Hot button issue. Oh, wow. Rebel flag.
As an African American, the rebel flag represents to me a system and a people who fought to keep me enslaved.
Why do so many black people vote Democrat, even if it violates their moral positions on issues like abortion or homosexuality?
Most black preachers and black Christians in general take the issue of social justice and see that as a higher moral standard than abortion and homosexuality.
Are black people afraid of the police?
Not every black person is afraid of police, but many people, many African Americans are afraid of the police. And not only are they afraid of the police, they don't like the police because of what they have seen and some of the differences in treatment that they have seen between African Americans and white Americans.
So we've had all these shootings that have taken place, and they've been on the news, and not just now young black men or black men being shot, but now we actually have the thing in Dallas where police officers were shot, and Ferguson, Minnesota, Tulsa, Charlotte, wherever there's a shooting. And then what happens is this group called Black Lives Matter goes rushing into these cities and these scenes, and it seemed that they're calling for blood, and they begin to riot. Now, as a white person, I sit back and watch all that, and this is my response. My response is, well, let's wait and see what the details are before anybody gets all up in arms. That's not what's happening on our television screens. And this is the aha moment for me that I'm going to flush through a little bit in a little bit. So speak to that for this group. What's happening in that dynamic?
This has been going on for decades, that African Americans have been shot and killed by the police, sometimes justifiable, but many times unjustifiable. And the African American community has been screaming for years that this is happening. It's only because now we have video cameras and cell phone cameras and video surveillance and the internet that we can really see what is happening. And so for so long, African Americans have seen this, and it has created this huge anger because for so long these things have happened and nobody's ever held accountable. And then we also see in the African American community sometimes, and there's a perception and realism as well of the difference in how an African American suspect would be treated versus a white suspect. I don't think I mentioned this earlier about Dylan Roof, the gentleman that went in, I call him a gentleman, but the man that went in and killed 9 parishioners in a church in Charleston. And when he was caught, he was handled very carefully, and then they bought him Burger King because he was hungry. And the conversation that went on with most African Americans after that event was this: if an African American man had gone into a predominantly white church and killed 9 people, they would not have taken him alive. And they definitely would not have gotten Burger King for him for lunch.
We have a black president, black FBI director, black congressman, black leaders in entertainment and sports. Why are we still talking about racism?
Very good question. I believe that the reason we are is because it's still hidden in the hearts of men. And even though the Civil Rights Act of the 1960s made the legal mistreatment illegal, but we're still not treated equally. but there's still an undercurrent of racism in the hearts of men, because even though the Jim Crow laws are no longer in existence, the mindset behind them is often taught to the next generation.